Well, hello Internet, and welcome to my Adobe After Effects 2020 tutorial series. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up everything, how the interface works, how to work with graphics, text, compositions, and I'm even going to show you how to make this video. So I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. All right, and what we're going to do here is we are going to click on New Project. And we can go and close this guy down right here just by, you can do this with all your panels. Just go close panel, and there you go. Now you have your workspace. Now everything is going to be held in what is called a composition. So all of your graphics, all of your videos, everything you are working with. So just click on New Composition. You're going to see this guy pop up here. And it's very important that you have everything set up. What we're mainly going to be working with here, the idea is making YouTube videos. But just to be completionist here, NTSC, what this is referring to are basically files that are going to be used on television. HD TV is what you are going to be working with. And more than likely, you're going to be working with HD TV 1080. And this is 29.97, that is frames per second. So we're just going to select that. Then what we're going to do for frame rate is change this to 30. And you would be able to come in here and mess around with your aspect ratios. Like let's say you would like to do a video for Instagram or something with an odd type of aspect ratio. You can go and change those, of course. Resolution is going to be full. Duration is referring to how long you expect your clip to be, meaning the entire video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to 17 seconds. And let's say 17:30. You can, of course, come in and change all this. And background color is just going to be the background color for your composition. Click on OK. All right, so you have your very first composition. And you can go and create additional compositions just by clicking on this guy right here. And guess what? The same exact thing pops up on your screen, but I'm going to click on Cancel. And like I said, you're going to be able to go and right-click here. And if you decide to change your composition settings, which you're more than likely going to do, especially when it comes to duration, you can come in here and do that, but I'm not going to do that. And that brings us to some preferences. And basically every single thing here is done exactly the same on Windows as well as on Macintosh. One of the only differences is whenever you're working with Windows, your preferences are going to be under Edit instead of, with Mac, it's under After Effects. And let's just go and set some general types of little settings that I like to have here. For now, you're going to want to have your center anchor point in new shape layers checked. And that just means whenever you create a shape, the anchor point, the point in which, like if you want to revolve your shapes or you want to enlarge them or move them or whatever, the point that is going to be referred to in these revolutions and such is going to be based off the center of the shape. And also I want you to put a check right here for default spatial interpolation to linear. And that is a mouthful, but it's really not that complicated. Spatial interpolation refers to whenever you want to define in space rather than in time, and linear refers to straight lines versus like Bezier curves. So we're going to get into Bezier curves later on, but for now we're just going to deal with linear movement. And also under display inside of here, what we're going to do is with our motion path, we're going to check all keyframes. All right, and that is all we're going to do in regards to preferences. So click on OK. And that brings us to our overall interface. You're going to have all of your different workspaces up here. I'm going to be working in default. So I'll just click on default and everything comes up there the way I'd like it. You can click on this little guy over here and it's going to display all of the different workspaces available to you. So there's specific little options you'd like, but we're going to work with default almost completely. If you come up here and click on Window, it's going to display all the tool panels that are available to you. And over here is where you're going to have all of your different tool panels. And we'll get more into those as the tutorial continues. And you're going to be able to come in and let's say we have a line here. You're going to be able to drag and resize these panels to whatever size you would like. So if you need more space for a line or whatever, and you can also move them around in your interface if you'd like. Let's get into some of these tools up here. This is your selection tool. You're going to be using that a lot. You're also going to have a hand tool here, which could be used to move around your videos and such. You're not going to use that very much. You're going to be able to come in here and long press on some tools, and you're going to be able to see that there are many different options for many of the tools, especially if there's a little arrow here. You may have also noticed that whenever we change to different tools, that there's going to be different options that pop up over here. Over here, we have our project panel, and this is going to have all of the different files that you import to use. Then you have your composition panel, which is this guy right here, and it's going to display your work and allow you to interact directly with all of the different elements that are inside your composition. Then you have your timeline, which is down here. There's so many different options, but I'll be getting into them. And you're going to have the different layers on the left, and you're going to be able to move your playhead around whenever we have elements inside of here so that you'll be able to scrub through your videos. And you're going to be able to manipulate keyframes, which we're going to get into soon. And if you hit play or hit your spacebar, you're going to be able to play your video as well. If you want to jump to specific times in your video, over here you're going to be able to enter time codes. And for example, let's say you wanted to jump 3 seconds into the future. You could just type in 300, hit enter, and you would jump 3 seconds into your future on your timeline, as you can see right here. And you're going to be able to move these different panels around, but we're just going to keep everything the way it is. All right, so now it's time to go and get some actual files. So one of the things I want to do is I want to get my main video file. And you can either hit Control or Command I, depending on if you're in Mac or Windows. Or you can right-click here and go Import and File. And I have a whole bunch of different files inside of here. I have logos and I have all kinds of stuff. But the guy that I want to get is this MP4 file we have right here. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to click on Open, and I'm going to uncheck Create Composition. I don't want to create a composition for it, so I'm going to click on Open. And here is the video file. It shows up inside of here, and since I have it selected, it's going to tell me everything about this video file. So it's 1920 by 1080, it's 30 frames per second. You're going to want your composition to have exactly the same settings as your video files. It's H.264, that means it's an MP4 file, it's in stereo and so forth and so on. And that is, and it's 17 seconds and 19 milliseconds long. So you also want your composition. My composition is 18 seconds long, so everything's going to fit inside of there. And it's very important. Your composition needs to match with whatever your video length is going to be. Another thing that comes up a lot is keyboard shortcuts. And if you want to see them, they're in the same place on Windows as Mac. Just click on keyboard shortcuts, and you can see this really awesome screen pops up here. And you're going to see that there's so many different shortcuts depending upon what you're doing. So if you click on Composition Panel, all the different shortcuts are going to change. If you're working with characters and layers, and well, you can see some of them don't have any. There's the timeline panel and so forth. So if you just want to brush up or you want to create your own shortcuts, that's exactly where you're going to do that. But I'm going to hit cancel here. Now let's come in and actually start animating some things. So what I want to do is I want to go and get my logo that I created. So I'm going to go Import, File, and After Effects logo right here. And in the description, I'll set it up so that you can download this image if you'd like. We're going to be using other files, though, that you're going to have to download from another website. So I'm going to have this be set as footage. I do not want it to be a composition, and I'm going to click on Open. Again, import kind footage, perfectly fine. Merge layers, that's fine. And click on OK. Now let's start dragging some things in. All right, so I got my video file. I'm going to grab that guy. I'm just going to drag it down here and drop it in, and I can move it into position. It's very important whenever you're working with your different files and such that your playhead is actually where you are looking for things, because sometimes you'll be like, where is that thing that I have on my timeline? Well, the reason why you can't see it is because the playhead has to be on top of something for it to be displayed in the composition. So there we go. We got our video inside of there. And now let's go and get our logo. So I'm going to grab this guy. And you can just drag it and put it directly inside of your composition. So there it is. And it's basically going to make it really long. And I think I'm actually going to let it be the full length of the composition, but I'm going to show you how to make it slowly go away. And now we're going to do our very first animation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my timeline and I'm going to drag the playhead, let's say to 11 seconds. So right there. Then to actually create a animation, I want to go and actually change the opacity so that the logo slowly goes away. So make sure you have your logo selected, and opacity is the shortcut for it is T. So click on a T and you can see opacity shows up there. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to click on opacity there. You can see it's 100%. So the logo is going to be showing at this point, but by the end of the video, I want it to completely disappear. So I'm just going to drag my playhead way down here to the bottom, and I'm going to change the opacity to 0. So starting from this point right here at 11 seconds, it's going to be totally viewable, but by the end of the video, it's going to go away. And if I swipe through, you're going to see that it is starting to dissolve. See? There it's going away. All right, so you just created your very first animation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something that's considered rather advanced. It's called per character animation. So we're going to go get our type tool, and I'm going to come over here where it says character, and I want to use a font that is very close to the Adobe After Effects font, and Myriad Pro is actually very close to it. So I'm going to type in Myriad, and you should have this on your system, and I'm going to click on the bold version of it. You can just drag through. Let's say that I want to have this be just dragging and increasing the size of the type. Let's just leave it at 97. That looks pretty good. And then you're just going to take your type tool and just click inside of here. And we can reposition it later. So After Effects CC 2020. All right. And then you're going to click on your selection tool and you're going to move it right about there. Okay. Your text is now going to show down here, and it's based off of whatever you typed in. And I'm going to expand this just by clicking this little drop down here. And you can see here that we have animate. This is another way of doing animation. I'm going to show you numerous ways of doing animations. So we're going to click on animate. And what I want to animate here is the position, and then have all of the characters individually come onto the screen. So I'm going to click on position, and all this stuff pops up here. I'll explain it. And what I want to do is I want to have more room here to move around within my composition. How we can do that is you can just click this guy right here, and let's take it down to, let's say 50%. And that's a little bit too much. Let's just try 100. All right, 100 looks pretty good. Okay, so what we're going to do here now, just with the playhead at the very beginning, is we are going to select this with our selection tool, and we are going to drag it out of the composition. And as we're dragging it, we're going to hold the Shift key and just drag it right here. Now what we're going to do is at the 0 mark again, is we're going to set a keyframe for start. So this is going to be at 0, and click on your little stopwatch here. Then we're going to drag over to about 2 seconds, and we're going to raise this to 100%. I don't know if you could see the letters moving there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to see that all of our type is automatically per character animated, and it throws it on the screen. It looks really cool. Let's say that I would also like to do a rotation animation as well. Well, what we can do is just come over here, click on Add Property and Rotation. And you can see rotation now shows up down here. And I'm going to go and rotate everything 90 degrees. So I'm just going to drag it to 90. And there is 90 degrees. And let's add more. Let's say that we also would like to scale this. So property. And again, where's scale? There's scale. And let's say that we want our scale to be 300%. There it is at 300%. And I don't know if you could tell, but the text is really big, and then it gets smaller and smaller until it gets to this point. Okay. Let's go and add even more features. Let's say we want to change the opacity so it comes on the screen and you can't see it, and then later on it is 100% viewable. Just click on opacity and lower it down to 0. Let's also add a blur. So let's go, there's blur. And let's add a blur of 25%. So take it up to about 25. And if we come in here and scroll through it, you can see that the letters are large, they are blurred, and they are moving in and creating a really cool animation without us pretty much doing absolutely anything. Now let's say that we would like to go and get rid of this graphic. We want to keep the logo, but we want to get rid of this text. Well, I'm just going to scroll forward. And then if you want to go and work with the whole entire thing, but not the animation that was done with the text, just close the text part, click on Transform, and let's work with Opacity. Let's figure out exactly where we want this to start happening. All right, so I'm switching over here. So I want to get rid of that by the time that I get over there. So I'm going to come in here to the 3-second mark, and under Transform, remember, I'm going to set a keyframe for opacity at 100% at that point, but then I want the logo to pretty much disappear by the time I get where we're at. All right, so let's say we want it to go away basically at 6 seconds. So just go to 6 seconds and lower the opacity to 0 at that point. Now you can see all of the text goes up there and it stays there just long enough for me to point it out, and then it goes away. All right, now we're ready to transition into our next animation. But to do so, what we're going to have to do is edit some files inside of Illustrator. We're also going to have to go and get some free files. So I went to a site called FreePick, and I clicked on free and vectors, and I typed in the keyword computer and searched. So what did I find? I found a graphic. This graphic right here is called Tiny People Testing Quality Assurance. So click on that and download. And you're going to have to go to FreePick and search for this because I'm not allowed to actually give it to you. All right, so I'll put a link in the video to where it is, and you can go download it on your own. But I am going to show you how to edit it so that we'll be able to use it in After Effects. So this is Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to go and get the file that was downloaded, and it had the number 1072 EPS. You want the EPS file, of course. Click on Open, and here is everything you want. All right, well, what I don't want is some of this information. So I'm going to click on Layers, and it's going to show you all the different little parts inside of here. So I don't want this thumbs up, so I'm just going to select it and delete it. I'm going to go and get rid of all these different parts. Now you're going to notice whenever you're going and getting rid of some of these things that some of them are on the same layer, and whenever you delete something, see like this, I want to keep the guy, but I want to get rid of the paper airplane. I also want to go and get rid of this, the whole entire clipboard, and I want to move her over, I want to move him over a little bit, and I want to get rid of all this stuff. So what you're going to have to do is come in and select all these individual pieces and delete them. And you can see whenever I go and select them like that, there's a little blue dot over here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to guess where a whole bunch of this stuff is. And I'm going to go and hold down Shift and delete a bunch of it. So I'm going to go, let's see, what's testing? I don't know. Let's just click on the group and delete it. Oh, it just got rid of one thing. Okay. So let's go and select this, and I'm going to select through all of it and delete it by hitting the little trash can down here. All right, got rid of that. Didn't delete anything I don't want, though. Let's keep going in and just selecting things and hitting the trash can to delete them over and over again. I'm going to have to come in here. This is something you just have to play around with to get it right. I want to get a lot of this stuff off of this screen so it's blank so I can throw my text on there. So I'm just going to select a whole bunch of it, delete it. Yep, that was good. You can also come in here and just select like this and delete it. That's probably easier sometimes. So there we are, got rid of all that. I had decided I don't want this floor in here, so I'm gonna delete that. I wanna come in here and get this guy and get rid of this paper airplane. And whenever I selected that, you can see here is the group inside here, and there's the paper airplane that I specifically wanna get rid of. I'm gonna select that. Trash can, now I just have the guy. I am going to use these cogs to rotate them around on the screen in the animation, but I'm not going to use this one, so delete that. Grab this woman, drag her over, maybe put her right about there. Grab this guy, move him over, let's say right around here, and then go in and start deleting, selecting and deleting all this stuff so that I can put my text inside of here so I can animate it. All right, so I'm getting rid of all this, and there is everything is gone. All right, but you can't use this because all these individual pieces have to be on separate layers. And you can see here, they are not on separate layers. They are all put into one layer. And another thing is, I want these graphics to all be a proper size so that they will show up on my screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Command R. And if you're on Windows, you're going to hit Control R. And I want this to be 1920 by 1080. So I'm going to drag over some rulers, but I don't know exactly where 1920 is. So I'm just going to drag that right there and click on View and Guides. I'm going to say Unlock Guides so that I'll be able to select it and move it around. I have it selected. I'm going to go Object Transform. Well, actually, I'm going to put it at the 0 mark. So it's right on the very edge. Now I'm going to go Object Transform, Move, and I want it to be 1920. And click on OK. And there it is. So now I know where I want that to be positioned. And then I'm going to do the same thing with a horizontal guide. And I'm going to say that I want that to be moved to 1080. Click on OK. All right, so now I know where I need to scale these. I'm going to select this also, this background, and delete it. And we can come in here and scale this so that it fits in our 1920 by 1080 space. And come out of here, select all of this stuff. Well, actually, first I'm just going to get rid of the guides. Well, yeah, so let's just go rid of them. Okay, and hide guides. And let's come in and select this, bring it in here, hold down my Shift key, and resize our artwork. Okay, so this is going to be where our video is going to be. So I want to resize everything so that it's real easy to get this in here and fit my face into the video as well. So let's increase the size a little bit, and I think that should work pretty good. Okay, but I said also that I was going to want to have everything on separate layers. Very important. So I have all of my computer parts, which is going to be all of this stuff, and then there's my little widget. I'm going to select just the computer parts that we have here, and I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to click on this little hamburger thing up here, and I'm going to come down here where it says collect in new layer. All right, so there's all the computer parts. Well, now what I can do is just drag them out and put them on their own layer. And there is the computer up here now. Now what I want to do is do that for everything. So I'm going to go and get this guy. Again, right click up there, collect a new layer. I am going to drag it out. That's going to go at the top above the computer. Going to do the same for the lady and collect a new layer. Again, drag that up there. It's going to be above the computer also. Go and get this guy. Right click, collect a new layer. Drag him out on top of the computer. Then we're going to have our widgets. I'm going to have them be in their own layer, collect a new layer, and this one also, collect in new layer. All right, and these go behind the computer. So put that there and put that one right there. And everything is all lined up the way that it looks like it should be. So I can select this layer and throw it away. I don't know what artwork's in it. Let's delete it. I don't know, didn't see anything go away. And now you have your Illustrator file set up so that it can be used inside of After Effects. So you're going to want to save this as an AI file. So I'm going to say File, Save As, and find whatever you want your final thing to be. And I'm going to call this Graphics Ready for AE, and I'm going to save it as an AI file. Now I'm going to go in here and import it. So I'm going to go Import, File, Graphics Ready for AE, Adobe Illustrator file. I'm going to come down here where it says Composition, Retain Layer Sizes, and then click on Open. And there are all the things and all of the different files that I want to work with. And you can see I can go and look at them all. Now what I want to do is scrub through my video. All right, so right here you can see is where I transition. So I want all my graphics to start coming on the screen at this point roughly. So I'm going to move to 6 seconds into this. And then I'm going to select all of the different graphic layers over here in my project panel. All right, so we're going to drag everything over here. And we're going to put it at the very top at 6 seconds. And we can drag all these sequences over. And there you can see all of them. And of course, they're in the wrong order. Then what we want to do is actually give them names that make sense. So what is this one? Layer 7? I don't know, but I can click on here and I can see it's the magnifying man. So I'm going to go in here. If I want to change the name for this layer, just select it. And I can just say magnify, give him any type of name, hit enter. Go and do the same thing for the next one. So 6 is going to be lady. And we can go and resize these, of course, so that we can see them better. So 6, hit enter. lady. And what is 5? That is the man that is sitting. So I'm just going to select it, enter. I'm just going to say sitting. 4 is a widget. So is this, it's another widget. And then there's the computer. So 2 is the computer. Oops, I accidentally hit it twice. Didn't mean to do that. If you do that, just click on composition. It goes right back. So this is selected. Hit enter. Computer. And this can be cog1. And this can be cog2. All right. And then we just need to organize them so that everything's in the right order. So I'm going to put the computer. Let's just put it last. And then we're going to put the cogs behind it. And the other cog behind that. And then everything else, it doesn't really matter where they are, but the positioning is completely wrong. So I'm going to need to position these guys into the right place. So I'm just going to grab the computer with the selection tool, and let's say we want to move it right about here. And we can scroll forward to see where the computer is. So everything looks fine, and we're not doing any keyframes or anything. If you start doing that, that's going to be really bad. So let's move it over a little bit so there's a little bit of room for the magnifying lens man. Now if we want to move him, where is he? There's magnify, grab him, put him, let's say right here, and then get the sitting guy, drag him, put him right here on top of the computer. Let's go and get our lady, move her over here. Looks about right. Let's go and get our cog. This is the orange cog. Let's have it be like right around here somewhere. And let's go and get our other cog, and let's move it up here, let's say. So he's sitting, she's sitting there, he's standing there with the magnifying lens. All of the cogs are in place. And now I want to position them onto the screen. So I'm going to go back here to our 6-second spot, and I'm going to select all of these individual graphics. And I'm going to click on P to show position for every single thing that we have here. I'm going to drag this to the 7-second mark. I'm going to come over here and click on the stopwatch. Since all of them are selected, it's going to give me positions for all the different pieces. Then I'm going to go back, drag my playhead back to the beginning, and now I'm going to start positioning everything. So I want everything to be off of the screen. So I'm going to deselect everything. I'm going to take my sitting guy, I'm going to drag him, I'm going to hold the shift key so he comes onto the screen in a straight line, drag him just above, grab our lady, drag her, again holding the shift key so she comes from this side, grab the magnifying man, drag him just off the screen as well. Let's say we want the computer to come from the bottom of the screen, so just drag it off of there. And then we can have the cogs go and also come from the top of the screen. And just by doing that, we're going to automatically animate everything. So it looks pretty cool. Now I'm going to show you something ridiculously cool. This is very advanced. This is what we call pre-compositions. And a pre-composition can actually be used in other compositions. And to create one, where is our computer? Our computer is, oh, I already have it selected. So it's this over here. I want to click on this guy, right click, and I want to say new comp from selection. It creates my brand new composition. There it is right there. And what I want to do is I want to have the text scroll inside of this computer. Well, I'm going to either hit Control or Command R to show rulers. And I'm going to drag these down so that I can define where I want the text to show up inside of here. So I want it to show up in this area, basically. So drag those over as a guide. All right, so I have that area defined where the text is going to show. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to define my region of interest. That's this guy right here. So just click on that and then come up inside of here, and you're going to, using your guides, you're going to define what area is going to show with this composition, basically the size of it. Then you're going to go to Composition and Crop Comp to Region of Interest, this guy. Boom. Now you can come in and select your graphic for the computer and delete it. You don't need that anymore. Then you're going to go and get a text box, and you're going to type all of the text that you want to show inside of there and animate. So I'm going to say something like interface, and I'm going to do this little selection tool, drag it down here. And I want my background to be white so that I can see this a little bit better. So I can just right click on this and go and change the composition settings and come down here where it says background color, and I'm just going to make it white. Doesn't matter, it's not going to show. All right, click on OK. And then I can go and give this text right here a different color. And how you change the text colors, click on this. And then let's go and make it a blue, because that sort of fits with what we're working with here. So I don't know, blue, something like that. Maybe that's a little bit too dark. All right, good enough. And then I'm going to go back to my text tool, and I'm going to say interface, and then I'm just going to type in all the different parts. I'm going to have this be left justified, so paragraph left justified. And I'm just going to type in everything. So setup, animation, shapes, text, graphics, editing, compositions, pre-compositions. All right, so I got all those set in. I typed them in. I know that you can't see them, but you'll be able to see them in a second. Now I know that I have about 11 seconds and 11 seconds, 4 milliseconds till the end of my video. I just went and subtracted from where I am in the composition. So this is the comp part to the very end. So see 7:04 to the end of where my video ends. So that's where I'm getting that information from. Go back to this. So what I want to do is I'm going to type in, I want this to be 11.04. It's going to jump that far. And then if I want the length of this composition to be shrunk down to exactly that length, I just hit N and it shrinks it down. Say I moved the blue bar right there. And that just defines the end of the sequence. Then I'm going to, with this selected, the whole entire thing, I'm going to hit P so the position shows up. I'm going to put my playhead down here at the very beginning. I'm going to click create a keyframe right there. And then I'm going to drag back down here to the very end of this sequence. So right there. And then I'm going to go and move it up the screen. So there's that. Shapes, text, did I spell everything right? Text, graphics, editing, compositions, pre-compositions. And you can see that that goes off the screen. So that just means I need to decrease the size of my font. And I'm going to take it down to like 78. That's fine. And now that I have the font smaller, I can raise this up. So basically I want it to show pre-compositions right as the video ends. All right, so there is the whole thing. And if we go and do the timeline, you're going to see that all that text scrolls on the screen. Well, now we need to get this composition into our other composition. So we can just go over here to comp 1. And basically, I want this to show up right after the computer on our screen here. So I can go and get this composition, drag it, put it right here. And it's not showing up in the right place, but the layering should be right. And make sure you're in the right part of your timeline. Actually, you know what? I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to drag it and put it right over here. So it's above the computer, but it's right in this box. There you go. So that's better. Then I can go and get my selection tool, grab the text, and put it right here so that it shows up where I want it to show up. And you can also see that it is going to end right near the end of the video. But I'm not done yet. I still want to rotate these cogs. So everything is on the screen right around here. Why don't I just start rotating the cogs right around there? So I can go and select both of them. Let's say I want to rotate them exactly the same. I selected both of them. I'm going to click on R so I can see rotation. I'm going to go and create a keyframe for both of them. So I'm just going to go like this. It's going to select both of them. And then I'm going to drag my playhead down to the very end of our video. Actually, right here, that's the end of it. We're going to have to do some editing, of course. And then down at this point, I am going to come in right where it says rotation. And I'm going to say that I want to rotate once. So I'm just going to select this, press 1, hit enter, and then both of them are going to rotate. And you can see there are our cogs rotating and doing all kinds of cool stuff. All right, so neat stuff. And we're basically done, but there's one thing. We need to actually export our video. How do we do that? Well, we're going to go to Composition, and you're going to go to Add to Adobe Media Encoder Queue. And if you have the Adobe suite, this is automatically in there with everything else. And there you go. So everything pops up inside of here. This is going to be an MP4 file, H.264. You're going to be able to select all sorts of different things. I'm going to come in here, down where it says YouTube 1080p Full HD. And then you're going to come up here right where this little play button is, and you're going to click on it, and it's going to create your video. So there you go, and then you'll save the file wherever you want to save it, just by clicking on this. All right, so there you go, guys. You know a lot about Adobe After Effects now. I'd covered everything from very, very basics to rather complicated things. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial series. And if you want to see more ways of doing things with Adobe After Effects, leave me a comment down below. And like always, please leave your questions and comments down below. Otherwise, till next time.